Video is called White Jesus and Bullets, and it ties into a lot of what's going on in the current state of our country, especially with gun violence, and how it's unfortunate that individuals like Tory Branham knows what path to take in regards to trying to make herself relevant amongst our party and the majority of the country. Now, make sure you listen to the entire video. You'll see and learn a whole lot, especially at the end. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Republican. I'm conservative. And I'm not an independent. I vote smart. And I like to look at all of the perspectives of each party.
Well, welcome back here on your Friday afternoon. It is great to have you. A story we continue to follow here in the Fox 5 newsroom involves the aftermath of that ICE raid at a Hyundai plant here in southeast Georgia. And one of the things that state lawmakers are looking to do is prevent these sorts of situations in the future.
I was the one that reported 452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai MAGA plant construction site yesterday near Savannah.
I don't give a damn. Bye, girl. Bye, girl. Bye.
This controversial Tory Branham, who falsely reported over 300 visas with the company Hyundai and their 300 permitted workers that were building up a new facility here in the state of Georgia. She went to the ICE authorities and she made a false report based off of incorrect information that she was given, supposedly, allegedly, from someone that works on the inside. Now, she is someone who has a very shady past. She is a veteran, so we thank her for her service, but after her veteran service, she has developed somewhat of a shady past, and according to her own admission. Now, there's going to be some interesting things that we're going to learn about her. There's going to be some things that we're going to deep dive into that connects this whole ideology on why she felt that if she went this route of presenting herself as someone that is pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, pro-gun, pro-right-wing, pro-ICE, this was going to be the recipe that gets her into her congressional seat that she's trying to bid for. She's following the path that many other women in the same party has followed into. But we're also going to talk about that and how that has not always been the case for the Republican Party.
Ended at the Hyundai mega plant construction site yesterday near Savannah, and I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE.
This has been a very humbling week for me, and I'm just going to bite the head off the snake with the information on this mailer that's going around. And I'm going to address some things. I'm going to be very humble about it. People didn't like what I had to say about illegal immigration. They jumped the gun on the whole thing that I reported. I probably should have been more precise in my first video that I did. I didn't realize that, there were Koreans involved in the whole debacle. But there were mailers going around that the conservative Georgians sent out when I ran for Senate for 9 weeks last year, saying that, or the state Senate, saying that I didn't share their values. Clearly their values of not creating jobs for Georgians, creating PACs to basically run horrible smear campaigns on grassroots candidates to never give them a chance to take office. And the values of their drunk wives going to parties telling people they voted for Biden, those kind of values. What they talked about was three things that I'm going to come out and talk about. I'm going to cut the head off the snake. Now, everything that people share about me is my testimony. I've overcame a lot in my life. But I do feel like what I went through and the Marine Corps experience and failed relationships is part of my testimony and how I am as strong as I am today and the person that I am today. And you don't always see the compassionate side of me. Most of the time, I'm really kind to anyone unless they push my buttons. But I want to address the mailer because I'm not above that. And when you share that, you share my testimony. So you're going to see on there that I had 5 divorces.
Damn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And that's correct. It did come from a place of not believing in the sanctity of marriage.
Did you cheat or did he cheat? Or did y'all cheat together? I'm confused.
I have grown in my relationship with Christ, which has changed.
Like Jesus and bullets.
So, yeah, you know, I'm not perfect. I've learned a lot from my testimony. I've grown in my relationship with God.
I don't even know you.
A lot of death threats. You know, I'm not going to cry about it. I was the one that put it out there that I did talk to an ICE agent, and I do know there was slave trafficking happening out there and all those other things. I believe what these people, these professional people told me that were working out there. I saw some evidence. And it's not just happening here. It's happening all over Georgia.
What we're looking at here is we're looking at someone who's trying to reinvent themselves. Okay? Because nobody in their right mind would actually run for an office that has such a shady past. And my question is this: who is funding her campaign? If she had that many issues with her finances in the past, and I understand, I've been a single mom, I've been married, divorced, been a single mom, have had financial issues, but I have not been married 5 times. There's some choices that you can make that will help to alter your future into a different direction. And to me, I feel like she's not a person that can make sensible decisions. So if you can't make sensible decisions for your life and your own household, how can you make sensible decisions for the people in that congressional district? Now, again, remember what I said in the beginning, it's all about white Jesus and bullets. See, a woman like this who has followed the path of some other notable MAGA supporting elected officials that are also white women, and let me put this disclaimer out there, this is not about race, okay? This is about a particular culture within a political movement. Now, she figures, hey, I can get the same blonde hair. I'm well versed in tactical with guns because she's a veteran. And if I get this image out there, and if I just put my name out there, use some catchphrases, use some dog whistles, do some underhanded, shady, bigot, discriminatory practices, because that's what it was. You thought that, okay, I call ICE and they're just gonna quote unquote round up illegals, right? They're gonna round up some illegals. And now you have put Georgia in such a hard situation. $26 billion over the next few years. Korea had already signed into action with this plant being open. Now, I understand, again, I'm conservative, so I do understand that there's some things that have to change with our immigration. There's some things that had to change with social services, all types of things, okay? But at the same time, I would never try to undermine someone through racism, through bigotry, because see, that's what the core of it was. She knew that if she did this would sound out an alert to people that think like her, and that's going to make them remember her when they go into that voting booth. And this is what I'm talking about. So you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she did the same thing. Laura Boebert, she did the same thing. Sarah Palin, she did the same thing. I mean, there's been so many women who've done this same exact type of shady political campaign move, and it never works out for them. Just continue to watch this video. You're just going to see how all of this ties in together and how they try to use Jesus. Because I'm a Christian, so I take offense to that. How you try to use the Lord's name in in regards to the wrong things that you are doing, and thinking people are thinking that, oh, this is the face of Christianity. No, it's not. No, it is not. And I take offense to that as well. You cannot hide your multitude of bad decisions and bigotry under the name of Jesus. And see, it's not just Jesus, it's white Jesus. Let's keep on digging. Now, please check out this young man's YouTube channel. I've been following him for a while. He is South Korean, and I've been following him now for like, at least a year and a half. And he is going to give you, along with his lovely wife, a little bit of background information of what occurred during that entire ICE raid that happened in Georgia at the Hyundai plant.
Yeah. And now the Korean government is like looking into human rights lawsuits and these kind of things. So what kind of stuff happened?
And now there is more interviews of people.
Yeah.
So people say, when they got there, they changed and they took the mugshot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They did the mugshot. Totally criminal stuff, right?
And we know they took their clothes, I think.
After they changed to criminal clothes, they took the mugshot. And when they have an interview with them, they kind of make fun of his eyes, and they know that we are from South Korea, right? But you're ni hao, and you're from North Korea, Kim Jong-un, or Rocket Man.
I see. And if you guys don't understand the ni hao thing, that would be Chinese, but just making fun of like all Asians speak Chinese kind of thing. So I'm not shocked. I mean,
it's not shocked.
So what people have said about the ICE detention center, like it's the only job in town kind of thing, and then it's a really low paid job, and there's just not really good people work at the detention center.
Yeah, so the people, 70 people in one room,
right.
And they only have a few toilet and shower.
Oh, that's right.
And there is no door and no wall, and people had to, eat and sleep in front of the toilet. And people even think they just gave them expired food.
That's a high chance.
Yeah, really bad food.
So if you guys don't know, this is a for-profit prison. You want healthy animals.
Some people say even water smells bad.
Yeah.
So maybe they wouldn't drink it, even water.
So these stories are just now coming out, and you didn't even tell me more than I knew, because when they first came off the plane, they went straight to the bus to go meet their families, basically, and stuff. And you just. I don't want to sit and talk to reporters for a couple hours. So
that is just a horrible situation. My sympathies go out, because I wouldn't want to be treated like that as an American going into another country, a foreign country, there with the right paperwork, and then all of a sudden I'm just like caught off guard, and all of these law enforcement agencies are after me, putting shackles on me. I mean, that is such a harrowing experience, and oh my God. And so I don't blame the South Korean president for now wanting to get United Nations involved, because this is a human rights issue. And all to think that the call, $26 billion down the drain now from someone who had a whole entire bankruptcy.
The biggest crock of shit I've heard so far since the Hyundai plant in Ellabelle, Georgia was raided was that the Koreans and the illegals will do jobs that Americans can't do or won't do. Well, that's bullshit.
When they're building batteries, if you don't have people in this country right now that know about batteries, maybe we should help them along and let some people come in and train our people to do.
Because there were union workers out there who weld, who are safety certified, who are skilled, those people for decades have built this country. The union and laborers built this country.
Things, whether it's battery manufacturing or computer manufacturing or building ships. So we're going to look at that whole situation. We have a lot of industries that we don't have anymore, and we're going to have to train people. And the way you train people is bring people in that know what they're doing and let them stay for a little while and help. So I'm going to look at that. So it's a very interesting situation that took place in Georgia.
Oh, but when she found out that President Trump didn't appreciate what she did, and he wasn't sending out the cavalry down here in Georgia to come and defend her, Oh, Miss Sunshine, Miss Buttercup, bless her heart, she started to turn into a real devil. It went from white Jesus and bullets to being a devil. And now you're going to see what she's got to say about it.
If they want to, put them in the parking lot for all I care, but stay away from our farmland. Again, that's how I feel about it. You don't know anything, obviously, since you can't eat. I don't give a how Hyundai, whatever. I don't care how it's pronounced. That's not my priority.
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
Media want to constantly talk about, oh, President Trump is a convicted felon. Well, you want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon.
No, 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 no.
All right, so next on the docket is Senator Kelly Loeffler. Now, former senator, because she's now the administrator for the Department of Business in Washington. She is on President Trump's team. And she married very well. And she used to be a former WNBA team owner in Georgia, in Atlanta. And she is also one that, she's got a little class. She got a little bit more class than Marjorie Taylor Greene. But she still believes in white Jesus and bullets. And now with her, she's kind of quiet. But still, even with her money, see this wave of bullets and nationalism and Christianity. This is where we're leading up to what you will see at the end.
Lauren Boebert, the Colorado representative, was approached with a pin, and then this happened.
Nice for green Converses. Thank you. Have a nice day.
We hope you take action on gun violence prevention.
The pin Lauren threw away was a pin honoring Maite Rodriguez of her green shoes she wore to school every day, and identifiable by those green shoes after being murdered in the Uvalde school shooting, of which the shooter used an AR-15. Lauren Boebert is a staunch gun advocate. Families and people affected by gun violence advocate for stricter gun laws. For context on Boebert, she told Fox News' Sean Hannity in the wake of the Uvalde tragedy that calls for gun control were unjustified, telling him that the U.S. didn't ban planes in the aftermath of September 11, 2001. And to put that pin into context, Republican lawmakers were seen in early 2023 wearing lapel pins in the shape of an AR-15 while conducting official business in the House of Representatives. This brings about the question to you: what would it take for lawmakers to look at their stance on gun laws differently, if not in the face of a pin representing the shoes of a 10-year-old girl killed in a school shooting?
After getting caught groping her boyfriend in public, Lauren Boebert has said that she fell short of values. What values would those be exactly? Because you were a teenage, unwed mother who dropped out of high school. Then you ran for Congress and had to be gifted an honorary GED because you couldn't manage to pass the test yourself. Then your 17-year-old son got a 14-year-old pregnant out of wedlock. Then you announced you were getting divorced, and now you're dating someone while you are still married. So I'm just curious, what are your values? Because it kind of seems like your values are knock 'em up early and often.
This is a time to know that you were called to be a part of these last days. You get to have a role in ushering in the second coming of Jesus.
She's a hands-on representative. Representative Lauren Boebert had a groping session during a performance of Beetlejuice. Security cam footage showed her with her date where she was vaping, grabbing her date's crotch, and having her breasts fondled. I wonder if they have any tickets left to Beetlejuice. Later, Boebert apologized for her behavior, blaming it on her recent divorce. It's hard to imagine this kind of heavy petting happening during Beetlejuice. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened if they would have gone to Moulin Rouge?
Next case, Oh, Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Defense, aka Ice Barbie, aka Secretary of Facelifts. Oh, this is a nasty one. She too, former governor in her home state, and she too has this white Jesus and bullets type of persona, and to the point to where President Trump elected her to head his homeland defense. And she is very cold-hearted. Even some of the things that I've seen with her going into the prison in Venezuela, right there in front of a cell full of inmates, it had to be at least 120 plus, maybe a little less, I don't know, but it was a lot of them in there. And I just feel like, you know what, that is so give people their dignity, even if they did commit a crime, because we don't know the way that this administration is rolling. We don't know if a lot of the people that they are detaining are actually criminals. All that we are knowing and understanding is that they are trying to meet a quota. And with that, to make a marketing tool in front of a cell full of inmates without anyone representing them, even though they're inmates, to me, that's not American. That's not patriotic. That's not for us to strip people of their dignity for you to make a marketing message to deter future immigration. Because what's going to happen is you're going to deter it to the point to where nobody's going to want to come, and that's where we have already started to fall.
We could use more men like you in a distract. Whoa! What the f***? Your Botox, Miss Nom? Oh yeah, fix me up. Stand out, and I'm gonna recommend you for the next.
ECOT today and visiting this facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities. I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face.
Call on the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who I know. I served in Congress with her. I was in a weekly Bible study with her, and asking her to go back and read her Bible, see whether or not she could use a little more humanity and dignity in how she's carrying out her responsibilities.
Kristi Noem had a dog named Cricket. Cricket was an unruly puppy, so Kristi Noem brought Cricket to a gravel pit, shot him in the face. Then she killed the family goat as well. Why not? We know that she did this because she wrote about it openly in her book. This left many people scratching their heads as to why she would do such a thing. Puppy killing is generally frowned upon. The best theory I've seen is that she wrote this story specifically to signal to Donald Trump that she is willing to carry out the tough decisions, no matter how cruel. Fortunately for her, it seems this psychopathic sycophancy has paid off. She's now nominated to be the head of Homeland Security, which will oversee the rounding up of those Trump calls.
These are animals, okay?
But I'm going to tell you when all of this started. All of this white Jesus, bullets, nationalism, this vitriol for everything that is anti-MAGA, anti-red. This started with the Tea Party. Okay, this is a political group that merged around 2007, but it really came on the scene like around 2008, 2009. Right on the cusp when everything kind of just fell out because of the housing market crash. And also, too, with the ushering in of former President Obama when he first ran for office. Oh, boy. They really got into gear then. And that's when you started to see this intersection of militia, Christianity, and also a more aggressive right wing. But it wasn't coming from the traditional Republican voter. So usually the traditional Republican voter were more so middle class, upwardly mobile. Even if they had like a blue collar job, they were still those that had a pretty good savings, retirement. They had the camper, they had a boat. They would pay into the Republican Party every 4 years or whatever, and it was like a different type of genre of persons. Okay, what happened with the Tea Party is that you had a lot of the more poor, white, low income base Republicans that started to emerge, and they started to get a little bit too heightened. And a lot of it came from, so now they had President Bush for so many years, they had President Clinton for so many years, but then President Bush came in, and before President Clinton came in, they had another Republican. So you had a lot of Republican presidents that was in office for many years, and they were the ones that were steering this economy into this hyper super capitalism driven market. And what happened was, with that lower income white Republican voter from West Virginia, from the coal mines, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, from Mississippi, some of the poor states, Alabama, Georgia, oh boy, these folks that were like, you know what, they grew up in Jim Crow. They were the ones that were the sons and the grandkids of some of these Klan members and those who were against civil rights. And these are the product of what helped to fuel the Tea Party. And when that happened, a new face came on the scene. See, before this, you would have never seen this coming from white Republican women, because again, those types of women had a different type of class. Okay, now were all the policies agreed upon? No, but still there was still a different type of distinction of woman that the Republican Party represented. Okay, they represented for the Republican Party. But when Sarah Palin came on the scene, oh good God. Now, Sarah Palin is a very smart woman. She graduated from Bristol University, and she went on to be elected as governor of Alaska. But with her, she didn't have that traditional Washington D.C. upbringing as a Republican. And what it was is it was a lot of, again, militia, guns. She too believed in white Jesus and guns. That's all you heard from. She believed in her guns. She was a soccer mom. She believed in her Mary Kay, her lipstick and bikinis, and taking shots in bikinis. And you can see Russia from her backyard. She really, in my opinion, she didn't start off like that. She was a little bit more conservative than that. And I think that she took on this expectation of the more lower income Republican white groups that really don't value education, and especially don't value education in a woman. They don't even want women to vote. Okay, Project 2025, they don't even want their wives to vote. They want to be able to vote for their wives. Okay, so you can't present yourself too smart in this new type of Republican Party as a woman. Now we're going to see a little bit more about her.
Wondering why I'm upside down, and that's all because word on the street is that Miss Sarah Palin is calling for civil war. But don't take my word for it. Just watch. Press play.
Alrighty. Do you have concern for the country as I do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think those who are conducting this travesty and creating this two-tier system of justice, I want to ask them, what the heck? Do you want us to be in civil war? Because that's what's going to happen. We're not going to keep putting up with this. And Eric, I like that you suggested that we need to get angry. We do need to rise up and take our country back.
Two words for y'all: white fear. Take our country back. Take our country back from who? Yeah, black and brown folk and folk that don't think like them. And the only reason that Sarah Palin and other Colt 45 supporters have attached their trains to his is because it's all about one thing, and that's power.
Who are conducting this travesty and creating this two-tier system of justice. I want to ask them, what the heck? Do you want us to be in civil war? Because that's what's going to happen. We're not going to keep putting up with this. And Eric, I like that you suggested that we need to get angry. We do need to rise up and take our country back.
Two words.
And you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You know, Hillary and I don't agree on everything.
I believe that diplomacy should be the cornerstone of any foreign policy.
And I can see Russia from my house.
And really, to be honest with you, when she made that statement, the campaign was pretty much over. It wasn't even the whole bomb Iran that John McCain unfortunately said during a town hall. It was that you could see Russia from the backyard. And SNL had a field day over it with Tina Fey. And, you know, that night of the election, John McCain, he really did do the most dignified thing. And he saw that his supporters were rallied up. They were upset that not that he lost per se, but that now an African American president was going to be in leadership. And see, this Tea Party under with Sarah Palin kind of being the face of it, really getting it out there, introducing the Tea Party to the entirety of America. People have never heard of it before. It started to bring in this type of conspiracy theorist. This is where you started seeing people morph into from conspiracy theory in the Tea Party to morphing into this whole QAnon era. That's where this started from, that QAnon group. This is where it starts. Big government, they're against anything that they feel as if it's too progressive. And when President Obama was elected in office, one of the things that he did, I feel like he should have maybe left it alone, because this was never really his movement. It started with Bill Clinton, and that's the Don't Ask, Don't Tell that he signed into legislation when President Barack Obama got into office. And also too, he passed other LGBTQ policies. I think what he should have done was he should have made changes in policies for people of color and worried about getting immigration into a good state, because he passed a lot of laws for immigration too. And that also, along with him being a black president, that really pushed the Tea Party into something else. And then by the time President Obama got into his second term, he did so well that he was still able to get the majority of the country to elect him the second time, even against Mitt Romney, who was a really good candidate. But once he got in there that second time, that's when the Tea Party started to morph into something else. And then you started to have those that were calling for someone who had absolutely no political background. Both Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump were able to portray what it was that white America was looking for. That was completely against any democratic, liberal, progressive type of politics. They didn't want that. And if at first the Tea Party under Palin wanted smaller government, lesser taxes, right? Then it went from the Tea Party now with don't tread on my rights. Of course, see that don't tread on my rights. That part of those supporters, those people also helped to ignite and help to redirect the Tea Party after that. And it started to become more militia. It started to become, we're not asking, we're going to make them. And see, the Second Amendment Constitution, but it wasn't something that was just so pressing all the time. Gun control was something that was unspoken but understood. And when the Tea Party came into action, and after President Obama got elected the second time, they started to revert back to the same behaviors that many of their ancestors also displayed after the emancipation of slavery. Gun rights, speaking out for the Second Amendment, became something that was so pressing for many white Southerners, rural areas after the emancipation, because they thought that, oh well, now these black people are now free, and now I have to protect my land and my rights and my life. And so they went into super overdrive with guns. Okay, and that's also too the time when the forming of the American Police Department started. The groundwork of the American Police Department are the first they were the slave catchers before the emancipation, but then they ended up becoming the patrolmen after the Emancipation Proclamation, and they started to patrol black people, and then it went from not just patrolling, but they started to create the penal laws. And that was, if a black man or a black woman didn't have a job working for a white person, you would be locked up. That was a new code. Now we're supposed to be out of emancipation, but there were new slave codes still being created even after slavery was ended. And this is the same thing that the Republican Party started to morph into, again, with all of these different groups coming into the Republican Party. Those that were lower income, lower education, those that came in from areas where they felt like the government was forgetting about them, and these steel towns, copper towns, mining towns, farmers. And it wasn't that the government was forgetting about them, it was they had to change with the times. See, clean energy started to become big on the platform, and so coal mining and all of these other resource industries that they had been so used to being able to feed their family and pay their bills, and even farming started to become something that was not all American anymore. Now you can get your beef and your cattle meat from Brazil. Now we can get different types of nutrients from the Middle East, or there's certain things that are being developed in Asia. So, it wasn't no longer the breadbasket of America. That also had to change. And so you have all of these different cul-de-sac of industries that were primarily run by rural Republican white America, and things started to change. And it was like, oh, the government is against us. Oh, black people are against us. Oh, gay people are against us. All of these people are against us. We've got to fight and take our country back. No, you don't fight and take your country back by guns. You fight and take your country back by innovation. But what they did was, again, repeat the same behaviors of their ancestors, because they thought, well, they did it and got control and it felt good because America was great back then that's what we're going to do. But the guns were not the answers. The guns were adding to the problem. And in fact, when President Obama was in office, the most school shootings happened, and the most mass shootings happened when he was in office. Why? Because this is where you have people who have guns. See, this was not like, oh, the black on black crime was issued. No. It was the mass shootings from gun owners that were probably a part of the NRA, that went to these gun shows, that started off early hunting, that went to these expeditions knowing how to use a scope. It was all about big guns. You can't take my gun rights away. They started expanding gun rights. Florida, stand your ground. Texas started to expand. It went from asking the government to reduce the size and also to lower taxes, to we're going to take our country back. We're not going to ask anymore. We're going to make them do it. And with Trump in office and him not having any type of leadership skills, diplomatic skills, he was not the best person to have elected into office to deal with that party. And was no longer even, no one even talked about the Tea Party anymore. Okay? This now started to become a militia. And gun shows started to expand. And the mamas, the matriarch, which represents these women that we all looked at, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Tory Branham, the Laura Boebert, the Kelly Loeffler, the Sarah Palins, those matriarchs are also a part of the problem. They want to make sure that they incite that fear, that white fear in their base, to make them go to the polls, okay? To make themselves popular, to give themselves relevance, so they can stay into these seats that they have been elected into. And this is what I see in regards to what happened. This is like the culmination of what happened on September 10th with Charlie Kirk. So the Tea Party, when Sarah Palin was in office, remember, she's a big gun girl, hunting, don't tread on my rights, very anti this, anti that, conspiracy theory. Okay, Utah was one of the biggest supporters of the Tea Party. One of the biggest supporters of the Tea Party. And a lot of these women who raise up these sons along with their fathers, they coddle them. And along with that coddling, they encourage them to be avid gun carriers. Okay? They coddle them. They don't give them the tools how to work out your politics without bullets. And then what they do is they make sure that the kids go to the church. But when they go to the church, and especially if they're a pastor that is a MAGA supporter, overly conservative, also too believes in don't tread on his rights, his gun rights, don't want to mess with the libs and all of these and all of these conspiracy theories. He's got that militia mindset. He's on the pulpit spewing out that message mixed in with white Jesus. You've got a very warped sense of young white men. And middle-aged white men that are so hyper driven by anger and bullets, and that mentality that this is my divine rights. Same thing that their ancestors thought with the manifest destiny. They also thought that. They thought manifest destiny was, I'm going to take this country. This is my right. And they pushed out the native indigenous. And they did all types of things to move them off of that land. You see what I'm saying? And it was like a slaughter. Didn't care. They had their own theories on how they were going to get this country under their control. And that's the same thing that's going on today. It's just mirroring the same social behaviors that have been passed on. And now these young folks, these young white men that are angry, they're frustrated, they don't have the resources or the ability to really earn money. Those farms that have been in their family for generations are dissipating. Those jobs that they were able to get in the same companies that their father worked and maybe their grandfather worked or their mom worked, those car factories, those manufacturing plants, those are gone. Those are no longer needed anymore because it can be made cheaper in other countries. We can no longer compete. The things that we need, they don't realize that instead of spending time sending your boys to go hunting, you need to go and send them to weekend academic classes to help them in science and math so they can compete globally. No one cares that your son can shoot an elk. No one cares, because what they're going to do is they are studying how to shoot and aim. And if it's not going to be an elk or a deer, it's going to be something that it's going to be somebody that goes against their beliefs, that makes them mad. And my God, don't let them also be MAGA, militia, and right wing, and nationalism, and I believe in white Jesus, and my gun rights, and then have these conspiracy theories, and they've been coddled by women who also believe in gun rights. See, you get your nourishment from your mom. You get your nourishment from your matriarch. And these women are helping to push this gun crime. It's not all on the men. It's also on the women. And a lot of these young men are afraid to really express themselves in that culture. And so maybe they may be different. And they may have a different lifestyle. Add those pressures onto this. And this is why you end up with someone like this man that unfortunately killed Charlie Kirk. Now, of course, Charlie Kirk, he was also a part of that problem, because he too had such a wanton belief in gun rights without guardrails. You can have the Second Amendment, but there needs to be guardrails and responsibilities. And this young man says that to him moments before he's killed.
Your thoughts on if we need more gun control in the country or not? I'm very pro protecting America and the citizens that live in it. And so I think that we should have more gun control, because there's a lot of school shootings that happen, as we mentioned. And, I just think it would do a lot to protect the people. And I think the Second Amendment also qualifies that we should have regulations for guns. I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. Do you think gun ownership is a right or a privilege?
I think it's a right, but it comes with responsibilities.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I think that there should be things in place, things like red flag laws and things like that. The AG just approved Mel Gibson to get his gun rights back, even though he had a domestic violence charge. So, I don't think the people that commit these violent crimes should be able to buy guns and things like that. And I think we should have red flag laws in place to make sure that those violent criminals aren't getting guns. And also, putting in place things like a federal registry so that we know, the types of guns that people have.
33 hours. I
I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered.
White Jesus and bullets. This is a problem here in America because it's not contained. And until we get gun rights, real gun rights, and we also get the matriarchs of this group, we get their mindset. They have to change their mindset. See, that Tory Branham and what she did and how she's getting all of this backlash, it's good. That's good. She needs to feel that pain. She needs to feel responsibility for what she did, because this is not the type of government our country needs. Our country needs smart government, not government based off of performance, not government based off of fears, not government based off of novelty, ideas, and ideologies. It needs to be based on facts and actual smart, intelligent people who are going to honor the Constitution, our Bill of Rights, adhere by the law, and also remember that all Americans matter. Not just white Americans, black Americans, Latin Americans, Asian Americans, indigenous Americans. All Americans matter. Make the hard choices. Sometimes your party may not get everything they want. And that's because the other parties also live here in the United States and pay taxes and are contributing members to society. That's how that works. But that's all I have to say. All of this, unfortunately, led up to, and see, Tory Branham, she was going to be doing the same thing. The higher she was going to get in this campaign, because she's still running for office, but it has really hurt her. Now, I don't know what direction it may go into, but it has tremendously hurt her. And we don't need any other matriarch representations that is for gun rights with no guardrails. Behaviors like she displayed, calling in false information, not having the resources, and making sure that everything was confirmed before she picked up that phone and made that call, and deterring a whole entire $26 billion contract to be knocked off of the rails. I mean, you see, that's the type of government we don't need. We don't need that type of government. And with her white Jesus nationalism, that's right, I did it. And then her going out there showing her guns because she's a veteran, showing her guns. See, that's enticing. That's trying to build up that negative. We don't need that anymore. We need to go a different route after Charlie Kirk. Because we're all Charlie Kirk at the end of the day. When you don't have gun control within the Second Amendment, we are all Charlie Kirk. That could happen to any one of us, unfortunately. I don't care what political party you are from. Please let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you have a great and blessed day. Thank you.